GM, wake up. It is time for BBM. I was out on vacation in a non-underdog state, so I missed basically the first week of the contest opening. I have absolutely no shares of RJ Harvey anywhere near where people were getting them flatulent fantasy. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for stopping by. I'm going to be hopping in a 30-second Best Ball Mania, and I will promptly get the location error. So I'm going to try to join on my phone, and let's see what happens. If it is not going to fill, then I will join a 20-second one. I just haven't done any BBMs yet. And so I imagine it might be. Oh, we are waiting for one. We're waiting for one. So if anyone wants to hop in, now is the time. I'm going to waiting for one on a 30-second BBM. So hopefully this fires soon. Yeah, it has been interesting. It has been interesting, and we are off. We are off at the 5-hole. So I have not done any of these yet. I maxed the big board. I think I was in for about, and I maxed the same contest over on DraftKings. So I think I was in around 350 total drafts. I'm not counting the little board too, which I did max, but I set rankings and autoed because it was going to overlay. And looking back on those teams, I will be lucky to return $3 because I basically got frozen out at quarterback on most of my teams. The way I had the ranking set, I was not aggressive enough on quarterback. So I have rooms like Anthony Richardson, Aaron Rodgers, and like Milrow. It's kind of my QB room on more than one team. So I am happy to help contribute to the overlay over there. I've done a couple puppies. I got in late last night, ran a couple puppies. I feel like I like how the drafts have been going so far. I think doing all of the big boards kind of helped familiarize myself with the lay of the land. If you loved RJ in the 15th, you're going to love him in the 5th. I mean, I had such sticker shock seeing him at what was he now? Was he 59? Did he fall in there? Let's see. Yeah, 57. I don't think I can click him there. It's going to be hard to get absolutely no RJ Harvey, but he legitimately could be like the RB2 in Denver, the way that Peyton uses his running back. So when we get there, we can look at it, but I'm having a lot of trouble wrapping my head around taking him that aggressively, just because we've been burned by by Peyton so many times. I mean, dating back to like the Mark Ingram days 1,000 years ago. Skeletor, GM to you. Thank you so much for stopping by. Yes, this is my first BBM of the year, and I will not complain about taking CD Lamb at the 5. It has been interesting in the early drafts seeing Gene T and CMC pulled into the first round. One of the more predictable moves was definitely Gene T moving to about where we were taking Bijan last year, which was pretty much the 108. And that's looks like where he's moved to now. I suppose maybe there was risk he would go to like, those mock drafts had him to the Jets or to the Niners, and maybe that's what kept him. But it seems like, he was going around 15, 16, and 8 spots in the first and second round is absolutely massive. So I don't think that was the risk that was baked in. I think we just did the best ball thing where everyone knows something's going to happen, and we say that the market prices it in, and then the market doesn't price it in. Similar circumstance. I was looking yesterday at the ADPs and seeing our friend Calvin Ridley at 53, and he was available in the early 70s, mid 60s for pretty much all of spring. And we knew that Cam Ward was going to Tennessee, and then he goes to Tennessee and we move him 10 spots up. It just doesn't make sense, but we do it every year. And every year we say it doesn't make sense, and we do it again. But, I guess, thinking ahead to next year, we're probably going to get the same kind of opportunities in the big board. and we should be loading up on, our Gene T's and like Cam Ward related people, because you're going to get huge ADP values. Ended up with a Nico Gene T start on day 2 of the contest feels pretty good. Yes, Skeletor, having missed the first week of this, I will have none of that combination in all probability, because you really can't get that. It does not look like you will be able to get those two, unless you're in a really weird room and you're looking and hoping it doesn't get thrown out because someone took like Bo Nix at 2. So please also let me know if the audio is good. I meant to get the ducks rolling here, and I did not. That is loud or soft. I have been away from my setup. I am trying to get I will be getting a webcam so that I can actually appear on video. Right now, I have no idea where my webcam went. I had a nice one. I have searched the house. It is gone. Somebody came and all they stole was a webcam. It's an active investigation. But I only have the pinhole camera right now, and it would look like that scene in Forgetting Sarah Marshall where they're just like weirdly leaning over the computer. So all right, music down like 15%. I can accommodate that for sure. I'm about to be on the clock, but the music is more important. So if that is now too soft, if I've overshot, let me know, and I will pull up. So by ADP, it's A-Chain. I think in my heart, I prefer Jonathan Taylor a little bit, but I like what Miami did drafting Ollie Gordon. I think he's a good complement to A-Chain. So I will add him. I wasn't taking a ton of A-Chain in the big board, but I'll take the little bit of ADP value there. I think Ollie Gordon has the potential to be the goal line back, but I think A-Chain could go back to being a much more efficient player like he was 2 years ago. I don't think he'll get the same volume, but I don't think that was really good for him. Great movie. Sounds good now. Yes. Yeah, Forgetting Sarah Marshall is just one of the best. I will pull up the draft board. People have generally said that they prefer this view to see what's going on. I know Davis tried to do this, and then the chat revolted and he went back. So I don't know. People who have stopped by here have tended to like the board up to see what's going on. Best ball on call, GM. Thank you for A, the algo bump as always, and B, for coming and hanging out. Really appreciate it. Yeah, thanks again for stopping by. Nothing too out of the ordinary yet in the start here. T. Higgins at 18 does feel pretty early. I don't know if that's where he's going. I assume not. That feels like somebody pulled him up a little bit heavily. These ranks, I was bored on a very long flight and started trying to make my own ranks on my phone. I got to about 100 and realized this is a colossal waste of my time. So they abruptly cut off, and they don't really mean much of anything, but they are in there. I would have liked Garrett Wilson, though. Garrett Wilson, I think, was a big winner from the draft. Another big winner was Chase Brown, and I think I'm going to take him here. I think I'm confident in figuring out some of the wide receivers late. I might live to regret this. This might be a bad idea in BBM here. But yeah, Garrett Wilson, he was a 1-2 turn guy last year. Got a pretty nice run out with Adams leaving, and is now reunited with his college quarterback. So not too bad. Not too bad. All right, so this is Greg. Good morning. So my flight, they did not bring me my luggage, but they're actually at my door, the courier, which is terrible timing because they said they were coming in like 2 hours. So I have to run, and this is I'm literally going to run downstairs, open my door, and come back. Please Do not leave me. I am, I'm so embarrassed. I'll be right back. Dear God. Somebody push the plane. Yes, I am back. So yes, I was actually in Hawaii, and there's a whole lot of travel and flights, and finally got back home, have a 2-hour drive home, and the car seat for our infant did not make it. So I had to get a loaner from the airport, from the airline, and then they were delivering it today. And they said they were coming at like noon, and they were at my door. So I am back. I am not hopelessly out of shape. I just had to run up and down a flight of stairs with a car seat. So we are good. We are good. And it looks like there are going to be some wide receiver options here. The DJ Moore fall has been pretty interesting to me. Definitely a lot of FUD about the Luther Burden pick. People reading between the lines on what the coaches were saying, certain implications about him potentially dogging it. I am not going to be scared of DJ Moore. I think I'm going to try to take him here, and I think the talent is just there, and who knows, who Luther Burden is going to impact more. Is it Rome Odunze? Is it DJ Moore? Certainly, Keenan Allen's departure opens a lot of target share. So I'm going to keep on taking Moore. And if we get news later in the summer, I might back off that. Hold on 1 second, Greg. I meant to click Skeletor. What do they charge for a car seat? It's actually free. Most airlines don't charge you. It does not include it in your checked bag allowance. At least with United, it's not. I think most airlines actually have to let you check your car seat for free. But I did not want to get there and then the car rental not actually have a car seat. So we traveled with our own, and that created a lot more problems than I thought. Chad, are our Ollie Gordon shares saved? Love the move for the squad. Don't know how I feel about the fantasy implications. I love the Ollie Gordon pick for the Dolphins. I think that's exactly who they need. Someone who could run between the tackles. Big dude, can take some of those carries away from A-Chain, where I don't think he's at his best. I think it put a lot of wear and tear on A-Chain. And so I am all about it. I also am in the camp that Jalen Wright stinks. And so I think they needed somebody. I don't know if that's how McDaniel feels, but I think that pick to me sends a pretty clear message of how the Dolphins want to run that backfield. And that will be a little more like we saw with Mostert and A-Chain 2 years ago. That's at least how I'm envisioning it. Now, it could be that Ollie Gordon also stinks and that the season is kind of a disaster. But I will, in keeping with this little Dolphins thing I've got going, I'll take Jalen Waddle there. Obviously, would have been a better run out had Hill departed at the draft. Still a lot of weirdness with him there, but Waddle, the talent is there. If the Dolphins are better, I think we're going to look at getting him in the 5th round as a pretty good value. He was the slappiest of slappy picks last season. He just kept rising up draft boards all summer and was a big disappointment. And I think the thesis is the same this season, but we will we will see how it runs out. That's good to hear. They try to scam you in every way possible with fees. Yeah, it would be brutal if you had to pay for the car seat. Like choose between your like bags and car seat. That'd be tough. Now, granted, traveling with a car seat kind of a pain. It's kind of big and clunky and makes things difficult in itself. But otherwise, he's not old enough to drive, so he's got to get strapped in there. Right feels like the actual handcuff now. IMO instead of the rotational piece. Hope Ali gets his run. It's certainly possible. It's possible I'm wrong. I think, going later in the season, and I was planning on kind of talking about that when we get there, but I think there's certain picks that I want to be aggressive now, and certain picks I kind of want to wait on, like Garendo and Jordan James. I don't even know. Yeah, Jordan James here, who goes undrafted in a lot of contests. Like, we're going to get a lot more clarity, I think, as the summer goes on. Garendo, I don't know how much he'll rise if he wins the job. I feel like he's kind of priced where he'll go. So I don't think I want to take a ton of Garendo now, but I do want to take more Jordan James. Now, Jordan James could be a 0. I could be drafting the RB3. But if he does win the job, he's probably going to end up going where Garendo is. We're going to get a pretty big rise. So now Debo is someone I was not big on pre-draft. I thought that it was possible the Commanders added somebody. They did. I think it's Lane. They added another rookie. I'm not too worried about that. I don't think I mind taking Debo here at 68. Especially because I'm catching up a little bit at wide receiver. But again, going back to that idea, there's a few picks that, like Blake Corum versus Jarquez Hunter. Like, those are ones where I feel like I kind of want to wait for a little clarity, because I don't think they're going to rise that much when we know. And you could be you could be eating a pretty big 0 when you're wrong. And so, like, in that kind of range, I would rather be taking like Ray Davis and Tyler Algier, who I know what their role kind of is. And then later in the season, evening things out with the Rams backup, with, the Chiefs, Brashard Smith. He could literally be game day inactive. But he also, if he ends up being the backup, he's going to rise a lot. So he's a guy I'm going to take a little bit of, not go crazy now, but get some exposure. And then, back off if he's not the guy, or have locked in, because, he could be going in the 140s if he's the number 2 there behind Pacheco, or Pacheco ends up being dusty and it's more of a committee with Mitchell. So that is to say, I kind of want to be planning guys that I want to take now versus later on in the cycle. Kind of at a interesting spot here. I think I'm going to just take Ricky Pearsall at ADP. I don't think any of the quarterbacks made sense in this range. DeAndre Swift, big draft winner. It's really hard for me to click him in the 70s, but yeah, it's tough. I'm going to end up with a big bag of Waddle. Yes, I think I will too. But yeah, I guess my point in the running backs, and I haven't done this exercise yet, so I think it's something that I want to be doing, is thinking about who could potentially be a big riser, what situations are ambiguous, but when we get clarity, might not be a lot of movement, and wait on those situations. So again, I'm trying to avoid taking tons of 0s, but I'm not afraid of taking like a risk on a few of those guys. I don't want to load up on them, but I don't mind taking like Brashard Smith, because he could be a big winner. But I do worry about like taking, I worry about some of these Jags running backs. I worry about ETN, and I worry about Bigsby, right? And I think one of those two is going to be the odd man out. So I'm okay waiting to figure out on those two who it is, and taking some stabs on Tootin, who I believe will definitely be involved this season. Kevin, good luck with that. Kevin, that could apply to many of my pursuits that do not always work out. Good luck with that. Could actually be the motto of this channel. So the question for me, I could stack Caleb, I could get Caleb to stack with DJ Moore. I could get Jonnu Smith and continue building out this Dolphins kind of giga stack thing with A-Chain and Waddle. Maybe, my first BBM, I'm a Dolphins fan. We're going to do it. We're just going to take Jonnu here and kind of make this the go Dolphins team. I think Jonnu was one of the winners from the draft. Honestly, I feel like most of the Dolphins skill position players survived unscathed. The Dolphins could have, they were mocked a tight end in a few different places. That didn't happen. They didn't add a wide receiver to the room. So I think, Malik Washington or Nick Westbrook-Ikine, they kind of fall to me in that category of guys. If you want to wait on drafting them until later in the summer, till you figure out who the number 3 is, I don't think that's bad, because I don't think they're going to rise that much, because it's not a job people are super excited about. Now, personally, I think Westbrook-Ikine is going to win the job, but I don't think now you need to be taking him hand over fist, because again, if he's announced as the wide receiver 3, he's still going to go, 17th, 18th round. I don't think that propels him too much higher, but you could potentially avoid picking wrong if it is, if the drum beat says that Malik Washington is there, it's going to be more of a personnel split. Cam Scatabo is, near and dear to my heart. I think he is who I would prefer most. I would definitely take Caleb here if he falls to me. Cam Scatabo goes. Let me just check what Tua's ADP. Okay, he's going at 150. So hopefully this guy with 2 QBs does not decide they need a third, although very frequently it is the guy who has 2 QBs through 8 rounds that will take the third. So let's see. No, he takes Pittman. So I will add Caleb to this team here. Stack DJ Moore. I don't mind the little ADP value on him there, and I will pull up the draft board so we can see what's going on. Whoops, too much. Hell yeah, this Dolphins stack with a few outs. Tyreek is washed. Tyreek gets traded, suspended. Dolphins offense rebounds. Yeah, I agree. I mean, we want to, I think my lesson from last season is really trying to build out bets on different teams, right? So this is just a big bet on the Dolphins. You could construct a similar team if you start, with start with Hill. In another variant, you have A-Chain and Hill, or you do Hill and Jonnu. And if the Dolphins are good, then your team is alive. So I think, when I first did BBM 3 years ago now, I was afraid. I kind of had a little bit of a DFS-y kind of mindset where I didn't want to overstack teams, because in my head it's it's really hard for everybody to get there. But in those since then I've learned those true spike weeks that kind of win tournaments, it's often just the team that scores 45 points and kind of everybody gets home. And a lot of teams are going to have, Tua and Waddle, but they're not going to have A-Chain on that team. They're not also going to have Jonnu. And if the team goes off, you're going to dust to those single stacks. And so I think I want to make more teams that are just big bets on offenses. Like we saw last year, you could do that with the Lions. Lions overstacks crushed some weeks. Bengals overstacks crushed. And then you can make some cheaper stacks like that. It's very easy to make Bryce Young, Panther stacks. Cam Ward is cheap. You can make Titan stacks. And yeah, it might not work, right? A lot of these things are simply not going to work. But when they do, you get some asymmetric upside. So I am trying to do that more. Loveland would have been a nice piece if he fell to add to the Bears, but he goes there at 112. I would like to add a running back to this team. The fall on Najee Harris has been somewhat precipitous. Jordan Mason would be my preferred addition to this crew, I think, but we'll see if he comes around. I think there's a pretty good chance he is a goal line back in Minnesota. I'm certainly not writing off the importance of Aaron Jones, but nope, Najee goes. So I'm going to add Mason to this team and pull back the board. Don't mind him adding there. I think he has nice contingent upside as well as a job to kind of start the year. And I like those kind of bets where you're getting something, but you could end up with a whole heck of a lot more. And I think Mason is kind of firmly in that camp. I think the last time I streamed, I also said that one day I will not have a cold anymore and my voice will return to normal. But that day is not today. I managed on this trip to get sick yet again. This is what happens when you have a kid in daycare. You are just perpetually sick. And it got me again. Got me again, guys. And I don't know what to do. I think this is just my life. I will always have a box of tissues nearby. And it definitely, it's definitely nice streaming when you constantly feel like you're going to run out of air at the end of a sentence because you cannot breathe out of your nose. But you know what? This is the first day I can do BBM, so I do not mind. This is my struggle here. And if this is as bad as it gets, this is pretty good. I just see a name that I have not been able to. I said I wouldn't be able to resist Tootin at this point in the draft, and I think he is nice. Javonte feels like a draft winner. He wouldn't be a bad addition if I'm going to do if I was going to bet on the Cowboys, but I really think he's out of juice. I have watched him last year, run 7 rushes for 7 yards and a touchdown. He just seems, I know it's Dallas can't draft anybody because the draft passed, but it just feels like there's a shoe to drop there. It is going to be hard for me to click Javonte. I don't know. I may get there by the end of the summer, but I am not there yet. It gets better in a few years. Excellent. Jeremy Thibodeau, new here, smashed all the buttons. Jeremy, thank you so much for doing that. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. I was streaming big boards through the winter and spring, and now I am excited to be doing BBMs, puppies, schnauzers, whatever dogs Underdogs offer. We will be here. We will be here doing it probably in the mornings. Frankly, the mornings are best for me, and I will not butt up against the Petes and Davises of the world. And so it gives, the morning crowd is underserved. Some of us, we wake up and we want some best ball content, and there was a gap. There was a gap in the schedule, and I am here trying to help fill that gap. So we're just getting started, and I am excited. I do want to get a camera so I can be a little more interactive with everybody. And again, thanks everybody for stopping by. Skeletor says, yeah, Javonte's ass. He had all the opportunity and did nothing. Yes, I think so too. I mean, Pat Carrain mentioned on one of his streams that they showed him highlights of himself at UNC last year, and we're basically like, can you do that again? And turns out he couldn't. And I don't know if it was just the knee injury or if he really is that washed. But yeah, he just did not look good. I think I am going to try to push Tua to 149. There's certainly an argument to take him here, but I think that's going to be tough for me. Tucker Kraft. I could also take Dak to stack with Lamb, but I think I'm going to pass that. I'll leave another quarterback on the board for the really quarterback hungry people. I like Tucker Kraft quite a bit. There's a world where he's actually the receiver 1 on Green Bay, with them adding Matthew Golden. If you think Matthew Golden stinks, then you should be taking a lot of Tucker Kraft. If you think the offense is going to be better, you should be taking Tucker Kraft. It's hard for me to find a big bear case because he just absolutely dusted he dusted his competition there last season, so I like him there. If you realize I said competition because his name is escaping me, it starts with an M, and I drafted him too much. My God, what am I doing? Who's the other? Luke Musgrave. My goodness, I've already erased his name because Tucker Kraft tore his pec in training camp last year, and I said, aha, it is the time of Luke Musgrave, and I took him hand over fist, and that was wrong. That did not work out. So that's a long way of saying that I like Tucker Kraft this season. You a weekly winner guy, Chad? I might be. I could be persuaded. I think there's some interesting game theory to it, but I have not. I think that's one I might just sprinkle in over the summer, and I think it's one where you can, if you're willing to put like 2 hours of research in, you'll probably be better than 9/10 of the field who's just like clicking buttons or saying like, I'm going to put all my bye weeks in 1 week and I'll win the other ones. Like, yeah, okay. Like I think there is strategy to it. I just don't know necessarily what it is, but I think that's out there. And the game is, I don't want to say solvable, but I think you could potentially build some edges into it. I think it's a game where I might wait for schedule release and, try to target some big weeks and try to create some game stacks. Like I think there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with it. It is very tempting to take Dak here on this fall, but I think if I don't take Tua, I am getting too cute by a half. So I'm just going to add Tua to the team, being that we have A-Chain, Waddle, and Jonnu. So I complete my Dolphins mega stack. I probably stop this team at 2 QBs, but if there is some great reason, or if somehow Dak comes swinging all the way around, then I would probably pick him up too. I like the tight end room. There's an argument I could stop at Jonnu and Kraft and then add another position, but I do like the way this team's shaping up. I'll just go over it. And we got Caleb and Tua at QB, A-Chain, Chase Brown, Jordan Mason, and Tootin at running back. Wide receiver room of Lamb, DJ Moore, Waddle, Debo, Ricky Pearsall, and tight ends of Jonnu and Tucker Kraft. So, like the team, let's see if we can land the plane. Crazy to me that Dak is still falling. He's a guy that, backstacking is a little odd because your options are pretty thin. Ferguson, I thought there was a good chance that Dallas could bring in some competition there. They didn't, but are you really excited about a Fergie Dak stack? Yeah. And then you've got Turpin and our king. Like I am struggling on this time zone situation here. My God. Tolbert. Turpin and Tolbert are your two backstack options there, and you can get them very late. So if you want to set that up, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. They're definitely showed some contingent upside from Tolbert when the whole team went down. He was pretty good. So if you want to bet, if something happens again to Lamb, it's hard to find wide receivers with true contingent upside. And I think Tolbert is one of those guys. I apologize. I am definitely a little jet lagged here, so I'm a little slow on the uptake, but we are doing our best here. P Smooth takes Kyle Pitts, 160, certainly understandable. He did a little, does he have Drake London? Okay, so P Smooth was able to build a nice little Falcons thing there late. Coming back around to me, I think my preference would be a wide receiver. Could definitely take the aforementioned Tolbert. This is a pretty big fall on McMillan, although I do think my preference in this case would be Tolbert. And then again, I would have a little more of this Dallas bet. I just wouldn't have the quarterback, which I'm fine with because, in a world where they go off week 17, I have Caleb and I have Tua who could potentially outscore Dak anyway. So I will add Jalen Tolbert to to this team as wide receiver 6. I think there's still some decent running back dart throws late, and I feel good about starting with A-Chain and Brown. It's kind of my anchors. Been adding some Turpin into the mix. Yes, our Buck, who is Pete's video editor, was singing the praises of Turpin, and we were all kind of laughing, and I think I took some ironic shares, but now he's draftable. I think there's still some worry that he's a part-time player. They really like what he brings on special teams, and sometimes coaches just have trouble taking a player they perceive as a special teams player and giving them a ton of time on the field. Thinking, way back in the day of Dante Hall, he was a wide receiver, but he was still a part-time player. He was kind of that electrifying, super fast kick returner. So sometimes these guys end up boxed in, but being that Dallas didn't add anybody, maybe they really do see him as like a true wide receiver 3. So I don't mind that. I don't mind that as a bet. I don't think I want to go crazy with Turpin, but I think he's draftable here. I draft mostly on DK, but I've been into Dak Ferguson at their prices when I go Lamb between 4, 7 in the first. Yeah, I love drafting on DK because it feels, I don't want to say softer, but there's definitely more of a, it's a little more running back heavy. And if you're playing an underdog, you're kind of wide receiver pilled, at least all the best ball intelligentsia are. So it just feels like you just get crazy value. I feel like rookies, at least in the early contests, go a lot later. And I think it caters to a little different audience, right? Like you have people that are over there who are either just playing DFS or they're on the sports book and they're kind of dabbling. Whereas if you're on underdog, I know they're trying to push like Pick'em, but most people on here, I think, kind of were ported in from this game. I think I'm going to add Giddens. I have chased the Colts RB2 for years and gotten it wrong every time, but I think this time it really is going to be Giddens. I mean, I was drafting Evan Hall in the 18th round of drafts last year, early in the BBM streets, and I don't even know if he's in the league anymore. I don't know if he's in the United States anymore. Things didn't really go well for Evan Hall, RB2 in Indianapolis, but it's got to be Giddens, right? Like, I'm just gonna say that Giddens is an easy click. Okay, good. I think they're, if he has the job, I think that's a good one. It is a little tough because they do give Taylor the lion's share of the backfield. If it is A-Rich, then running back usage gets a little wonky, but I definitely don't mind him as a running back 5 on the team. Rico Dowdle, it would have been a fine add too, but they also drafted a running back there, which I thought was a little odd. I thought they would have been happy with Hubbard and Dowdle, so I didn't really like to see that, at least if you're taking Dowdle. I don't think Dowdle's a bad click, but it did scare me. It did scare me maybe a little bit off of him. Looking at tight ends, I'll probably add one more tight end to this room. Probably go a 2-6-7-3 team. So just one more running back, receiver, and tight end. We'll see what we get. Pull up the board just so people can see who is going. Yeah, it's definitely an adjustment for me going from 20 rounds to 18. I was definitely a 3 QB if at all possible when it's 20 rounds. So it's hard for me to make the adjustments of how many to take on each position. But, so far, so good. Kevin says, I would suggest doing some puppies and schnauzers until the schedule drops next week. Kevin, yeah, I'm probably going to do a puppy or schnauzer next. Because last year I kind of ran out of BBM bullets early, but, I did want to start the stream with one of these. And I think at this point, having not drafted in the first week of the contest, those really wild ADPs you might get, which honestly seem kind of illusory. I think people were very sharp that were playing are all gone, and so I might as well just kind of wait until schedule release. If if Chicago and Miami have the same bye week, it really is not good. It is not good for me. I would have taken Roshan. That was kind of my plan there, and I don't really have a great backup plan. I am running out of time. All right, I gotta click somebody. I'll take Marshawn Lloyd here. I'll take Marshawn Lloyd. A little worried that he's not going to be the backup in Green Bay, but as of now, like they didn't draft anybody, so it seems like he is. I already have Tucker Kraft on the team, so now I got a little more with Green Bay. Being that I built the Bears, I have a little NFC North thing. These are the kind of things you tell yourself to justify picks are a little iffy on, but I don't mind Lloyd as a click here in the 16th round. I think he'll probably be the backup. It seems like they did want to start taking the load off of Jacobs last season, but everything kind of was weird. Lloyd kept getting hurt. The other running backs they had in the room were not very good. So, if they do want to ease Jacobs up a bit, I think we could see a decent role for Lloyd this season. I think my next pick, I'm going to take one of these tight ends. I don't know that Dalton Schultz does it for me, even though it might be him by ADP. I think of these guys, Chig would be my favorite. People drafting Terrence Ferguson, I worry he's a little more of a project and he's kind of going to sit behind Higbee. The Rams are weird with tight ends. They took Allen, who was a rookie last season, and I thought they liked, and evidently not, because they drafted another tight end, and Allen kind of got phased out. So I don't know. I want pieces of that Rams offense, but I don't know if it's Terrence Ferguson. Again, he's a guy I'll keep an eye on throughout training camp, and if he starts getting a little drumbeat, I think he's a guy I can hold off on, because again, how much is he going to rise if he is truly the guy? Like, I think Higbee doesn't go super high himself, so I'm going to add Chig to this team. The Rams, they did add Gunnar Helm, our combine king, who ran on a destroyed ankle, and his draft stock plummeted because he ran very slow. I don't know if that really impacted his draft stock or not, but I'm not too worried about him. He was a bit of a later pick, and I'll take Chig there. I think that the Titans offense is going to be a little better than it was. I've been splashing BBM just for some different textures. Yeah, I don't think it's right to completely not play, because I think the schedule release has more impact than people realize, because you start seeing people wanting to make week 17 correlations. Like, let's say the Jags play the Falcons week 17. You're going to see Thomas and London paired a lot, to the point where I think you're going to start like pulling Drake London towards him. Like, these are just examples. Like you there's kind of a bit of a gravitational pull where it kind of can end up impacting ADP maybe more than we think. And so it might be harder to get some of these combos, and you're going to end up correlating players together more than maybe you want to. I'm just going to add Nick Westbrook-Ikine as my last pick here, add him with Tua, and so I will finish my Dolphins mega stack. So we got Caleb and Tua at QB, A-Chain, Brown, Mason, Tootin, DJ Giddens, and Marshawn Lloyd at running back. A wide receiver room of CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore, Waddle, Debo, Ricky Pearsall, Jalen Tolbert, and Westbrook-Ikine. And tight end room of Jonnu, Tucker Kraft, and Chig. So I don't mind this team at all. I think it came out pretty good. 26 BBMs in stopping totally until schedule release. Yeah, I certainly understand that. 28 is a lot. I think if I hadn't been out of town, I probably would be around 20 myself. So it feels good to get one in here. Yes, people force week 17 correlation right after schedule release, especially in the early rounds. Yeah, and I do caution people, because people end up correlating week 17. I don't want to say too much because I'm not sacrilegious and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I do worry when, and I think this actually happens a lot in later rounds, where what people do is they're like, oh, these two players late in the draft play each other, I'm going to stack them. And then you just have those two together. Like every time you have player A, you have player B. And the only thing they have in common is they're playing week 17. And if one of them gets hurt and the other's really good, well, now you've tied a 0 to a stud. And so, like, I'm not saying not to correlate week 17, but I think people use it as a quote-unquote tiebreaker to the point of almost excess, to where you end up, they're only correlated that 1 week. They're not correlated the other playoff week. So I would just, I worry about people creating, 2-team player combinations almost too frequently in some cases. And I'm not saying not to do it. I'm just saying, we should be mindful that, if you tie 2 players together every time, you run the risk of, if one of the players doesn't work out, you've essentially capped your upside in the other player. Who Hames, sup fam? Who Hames, thanks so much for stopping by. So I'm gonna fire up either a Schnauzer or a puppy, and I will draft the first one I see in the chat. So I will do one or the other. I may actually have to do it on my phone because I'm getting the location error. All right. Oh, okay. Excellent. All right, James, you beat me. Puppy, we will do a puppy. I was rigging the contest. Let's see. All right, location error. That is fine. I will join it on my phone. And let's see. Puppy. All right. Oh my gosh, it instantly fired, of course. Did I do a 20 or 30-second puppy? I don't even know what I hopped in. I do not know what I hopped in, but we have hopped in. And we will find out. So apologize. I wanted to let you all in, and it instantly fired. So we will go. We have the 11 hole, and we are starting soon. Yeah, I much prefer to add team stack player in the late rounds instead of a gross week 17 bring back. Yeah, I feel like that too. I would rather continue making bets on a particular team. And again, I'm not saying not to week 17 stack. I'm just saying, just to make sure your percentages of how often you have 2 players on the same team doesn't get too out of control, because it's very easy to do. It's very easy to just say, every time I click Marshawn Lloyd, I'm going to click, player from the Vikings, because they're playing each other. All right, so we are off. Let's see. Are we in a 20 or 30-second room? I think it's 20. I looked away. We'll see when Burgundy Bets goes. All right, yeah. So we're in a 20-second room. So this will go nice and fast. Again, I apologize. I wanted people to be able to hop in, and it fired. But the good news is we have a lot of puppy bullets in the chamber, and they definitely allow us to get more drafts under our belt versus BBMs. I think in some of the time boxed contests later in the year, I'm going to try to do some, I don't want to say challenges, but kind of massive player takes, get really, overweight on certain things. I love Cam Scatabo. I could see myself, if there's, a 20 max tournament, just saying I'm going to have 100% Scatabo, and I might lose all my money, but that'll just be that. Trying to keep it fresh, because, I don't want to just light money on fire, but by the end of summer, many of us will probably have around 1,000 drafts in, and if we're grinding the edge to a nub, it will be difficult to keep that sharpness. So we'll try to do some fun stuff in some of the other contests, but not at that point yet. And I still want to be making good, defensible, reasonable teams. Howdy, who Hames is the man, and who Hames has fans in every chat I see. the Who Hames Nation comes out in support, and I am proud to consider myself a fan of Who Hames as well. If you do not subscribe to Who Hames, you should definitely pop over there and subscribe to his stuff, because he is the man. I'm going to take Nico ahead of our king Ashton Gene T. I do worry that we're a little out over our skis on Gene T. I don't want to like do lazy fudding of the Gene T bags, but all right, I'll take Gene T at 14 because I have no self-control. And I literally probably could have taken, Gene T at 11 and Nico at 14. I was about to say it's really hard for me to click Gene T over CMC. And frankly, it is, especially because it seems like CMC is probably healthy. And if he is, like, what are we doing not taking him in the first round? I'm seeing him in the first round more and more. I don't think you'll be able to get him at 16 like old Cody Santo did for that long. But again, I don't want to have no Gene T, and he is such a fun player that if I can get him in the second round, I definitely will do that. I miss 20-round drafts. Me too, Greg. And I think that's the best part of DK is that they are 20-round drafts, and we can take some of our like really slappy picks. And frankly, I like that your teams are a little less fragile there because you can do 3 quarterback teams a lot easier than here, where it does feel like you're sacrificing a position player. Not to say that you can't do 3 QB teams in BBM. I definitely think some builds you should be doing that and mixing them up. But I just prefer the safety of it, and the third QB hits your lineup quite a bit. And again, if you have 1 QB injury, at least you did not go to 0. It's survivable. When you have the 3, we're too far out over all the RBs. Kevin, you are famously one of the great wide receiver drafters of our time, and I certainly respect your opinion. It's been interesting. It's interesting because wide receiver really does seem to dry up earlier and earlier. I don't think we knew how good we had it in the big board, being able to get Trey Harris at pick 160. I'm not even talking about like early in the draft cycle when no one knew who like Jack Betch was. I mean, even like late, like right before the draft, you could be getting guys who were taking in the 120s and the 160s, 180s. Now the wide receivers at 180 are absolutely brutal. I mean, Nick Westbrook-Ikeen, like it's tough. And he was, around 20 click over on the big board. I just won't have GT in the first round. I'll have 1% based on what I get in the second round so far. Yeah, I don't know that that's like the worst thing. It's obviously it's the earlier your fade, the more risky. And so GT certainly is a risky fade because, he could just be really good. And, the Raiders could be good. I think the Raiders will be a lot better. I think they're going to be fun. They're going to play very up-tempo. So he's not a guy I want to fade. I may end up just capitulating and being at market on him so that I don't get completely dusted there. Boy, Rashee Rice is a guy I just don't take a lot of, but I guess I just have to do it. I do worry he will get suspended, but I mean, that case is moving so slowly that I really just have no idea what is going on with that trial. Apparently, like the criminal case, like hasn't even like been filed yet. And so if that's the case, like, I don't know if that's even going to happen this year. I do not know what's going on with the Rashee Rice legal system. And it also sounds like his injury, he's pretty much back from. And so if he's healthy and he's not suspended, then yeah, he should probably go where he's going. So it's been a tough click for me. I had almost none of him last year. He was somebody I was wrong about, but got bailed out. I thought he was going to get suspended. I should know better because I'm actually a lawyer and I know how slow legal things move. And then I said, well, I don't have enough of him now. He's not getting suspended, but I'll just fade him. And that was way wrong. And then he got hurt and I got bailed out. So, it's one of those things where you can be wrong and still be quote unquote right. But I know I was wrong about Rashee Rice. And this year, again, I do not want to have 0. Are you team elite QB or elite tight ends? Well, hopefully you are not going to report me to Sam Sherman, who was just, he was having good fun at the elite tight end people. But you know what? I am an elite tight end person. I know he kind of ran the numbers and showed that elite QB actually separates quite a bit more than elite tight end. But I still like elite tight end quite a bit. I think we've been a little spoiled by how well rookie tight ends have performed. You had like the 3-year stretch of Laporta, McBride, and Bowers, who all smashed. But prior to that, rookie tight ends don't really pan out. Those names that you recognize late in draft that seem good, you then look at your team in week 12 and in your best tight end scored like 6.2 points. So I don't know. I like the elite tight ends a lot. And I NFL seasons are so short. We don't have huge sample sizes. Like your elite QB can separate, yes, but like Drew Lock was the highest scoring QB, week 17. And I'm not saying that to like put down elite QB, but there's a lot of randomness. And then when the random thing happens, we all kind of take more meaning in that than we should, in my opinion. So I don't know. I just kind of zooming out. I feel like I prefer the elite tight ends and their consistency and ability to separate versus elite QB, which, even an elite QB can have down games. Not that elite tight end can't, but you end up paying quite a bit for it. So that's a long way of saying elite tight end. I don't know if that was my most articulate diatribe I have ever been on. But that's kind of how I feel. I'm not taking elite QB, but I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried about especially Josh Allen, because I don't think Buffalo wants him to be running as much anymore. And so I think he, of the elite QBs, is the one that I'm fading the most, even though he, theoretically has the most upside. I'm just worried that we're not actually going to get that this season from him. We are coming up, and let's see what we get. I don't really want to take naked Joe Burrow, even if he's the guy by ADP, although it is tempting to just ruin the day of the Chase Brown people. I'm going to take Travion Henderson. It's hard for me to take Harvey ahead of Henderson. I think Henderson is better. I actually think there's a pretty good chance that the New England running back 1 is a better role than what they give to Harvey. Now, if Harvey is the RB1 over in Denver, we're going to take RJ Harvey. That's fine. We'll just do it. We're going to slap it up. We're going to slap RJ Harvey. I don't want none of him. We'll figure out wide receiver later. But, yeah, I do prefer Henderson to Harvey. I think that Ramondre is kind of going to 0 and Henderson is just going to win the job. Whereas even if Harvey is the most talented back, he still has like a coach that just refuses to let running backs get into a flow and likes having a 3-headed monster and is very unpredictable. But again, I don't want to have no Harvey, and this is a puppy. So we've got GT, Henderson, and Harvey at running back, and Nico, Rashee Rice, and Mike Evans at QB. Kind of a weird start for me, to be honest. I don't know why this team feels a little different than what I'm normally putting together. Is there a difference between Josh Palmer and Eli Moore? I think Eli Moore is better. I will not be taking much, if any, Josh Palmer this season. I do worry that, they did pay Shakir quite a bit. So, what are they going to do with Moore? I think, but yeah, I think he might be the best receiver on the team. And I know that sounds a little crazy, but I don't think Coleman's that great. I think Shakir's fine, but what does he have, like 7 or 8 career touchdowns? He doesn't do a whole heck of a lot anyway. I don't think he's necessarily going to get the job over Shakir because of how much they paid Shakir, but I think he's going to force his way onto the field. Yeah, Eli about to snatch everyone's job over there. I think it's possible. I will probably be taking some of him late, especially if I do have Allen. Coleman, though, he definitely was something of a winner in the draft. I thought the Bills were going to add a receiver, but they didn't, and so they kind of got what they got. It's gonna be hard to parse it together. I really don't know what to make of their pass catchers, other than I'm just gonna be like, until we get some news out of training camp, probably just sprinkling a little of everybody, but not going crazy on any one particular player. But yeah, like Eli Mitchell is free in drafts. I think he goes undrafted most of the time. So Pearsall by ADP. I would definitely be interested in Luther Burden here. I don't need another running back. I like Tony Pollard quite a bit. I'll take Burden. I will take Luther Burden, and then I'd probably take another wide receiver in this spot. Although, Hawkinson is certainly tempting. I think this team needs one more receiver, and I think that's going to be Darnell Mooney. I thought there was a chance the Falcons could add another receiver. They didn't, so they must be happy with what they saw there. So I will add Burden and Mooney to the team. Not bad so far. But yeah, the Bills, Coleman, I thought they were going to add somebody. They didn't. Kincaid is kind of Kincaid. He's got his job. It seems like they definitely want to run the ball a lot. They're just going to be really hard week to week to predict who the guy is. But last year Mac Hollins was used quite a bit and honestly looked better than some of the guys that they have there now, and they let him go. So I don't know. That's a situation that you don't want to avoid completely because the Bills offense is one of the best in the league, but they're just very, very hard from a fantasy perspective to kind of get your wrap your head around. So I'll pull back up the draft board, see if we see anything too out of the ordinary. Not really. I think for my team, let's look at quarterback options. Stroud certainly an option. Mahomes is gone. Baker's probably going to go before he comes back to me. No, he already went. Caleb went. So Penix, another possibility. I could get Drake May. He's always someone that you can add. He's not too bad to backstack. A little bit of a bet on the Patriots offense, and Geno, again, same sort of thing. A little bet on the Raiders offense, potentially Jack Betch. If he's there at 130, he's a guy I could take. I don't think I want to grab him at 107 or 110. If Scatterbo comes to me, it's going to be hard not to click him because he is my favorite player. And Bo Nix is another guy I could potentially take if he comes around, because that would be a little bit of a fall on Bo Nix. Although the secondary pass catchers beyond Sutton for Denver are a little bit hard to figure out. So let's see what comes to us. I think my preference would be Jaden Higgins to build out a Texans stack, but he goes. So let's see. Let's see what comes to us. I think I would take Nix if possible, and then I could hopefully take Marvin Mims. I don't know if Shaft is. I think it's better to take Nix here. and hope that Shaft does not need another wide receiver. But he already has 6, so he could just be trying to take all, get 7 receivers through 10 rounds. Let's see what he does. Goodness, excuse me. All right, so we'll get Marvin Mims there. So, now we've got a little bit of a Broncos bet here. We've stacked Knicks with Mims and Harvey. Obviously, if you're going to sauce the team, you say anytime you can stack your wide receiver 6, you got to do it. But I don't mind that here. I don't mind this this wide receiver room. Certainly an argument, Evan Ingram. Maybe Evan Ingram would have been a better pick for me. At tight end, I like him quite a bit. Opinions may vary there. Honestly, maybe if it's not 20-second clocks, that's who I'm clicking on there. Can backstack Pat Bryant. Yeah, he could be the late round guy. We know that Peyton likes his big receivers. Are you clicking Cooper Kupp at all? The assumption is he's dusty, but he's stepping into the 186 vacated targets and is a hometown hero. Where do you stand? I have taken no Cooper Kupp. I did not take him in the big board. I don't plan on taking him here, but it is possible I will add some of him because I just don't see why. I don't see why he couldn't kind of age like Adam Thielen or Keenan Allen, where they just kind of have that graceful, I'm going to get open a few yards downfield, turn around and fall down and do that 7 times a game. And next thing you know, they have, 85 yards and a touchdown. And that's a very useful, fantasy player. But I think it was really injuries and maybe if he actually is healthy, I don't expect him to be, a truly elite receiver like he was, but I don't know. I maybe I'm talking myself into it. I think for the big board, because it was only 150, I kind of wanted to be, to, have more, a few full fades. I didn't want to do like a whole, 8% kind of thing there, but I do think if I'm doing, 1,000 post-draft drafts, that having no Cooper Kupp might just be bad. So that's a long way of saying I have not, I probably will click him. I don't think I want to get aggressive with him, but I don't love, Darnold there in Seattle. That makes me a little nervous. And if it's Milrow, that makes me even more nervous. So we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I think Kupp is definitely draftable. I wish he was going a little later than where he is. Betch would have been my pick at 130. Let's see. Do we have any QB options? Potentially Penix. CJ Stroud just went. That was unfortunate. I do need a tight end, so I'm just going to add David Njoku to the team here. So Njoku's been falling a lot. I don't know that that's fair. They did add Harold Fannin to the team. I think I'm just going to double tap Njoku and Kraft to this team and just grab a couple tight ends at this point. But yeah, I don't know that Fannin is going to be a huge risk to Njoku. Njoku's a really good player. I think each year he just gets some random injury that keeps him from getting up to that 1,000-yard mark. But he's super talented. I wish that the Browns QB situation was a little more settled. I think that could be kind of a really up and down, bit of a roller coaster of an offense. But I think Njoku has the chance to kind of be the constant force there. So I don't mind that. I also feel like a lot of the Browns pass catchers we were all assuming that Travis Hunter was going there and he was dropping. The Browns receivers were dropping late in the big board. And then Travis Hunter didn't go there and the receivers didn't come back up. That includes Jerry Jeudy. So I don't know. It's a little, the vibe is weird in Cleveland, I have to say, but I'm not afraid of David Njoku, and I was happy taking him around pick 100 in the big board, so I'll definitely click him at 131 here. Thanks for the stream, Chad. Let me know when you get the TakeCast Dynasty Leagues together. Headed off to ADP chasing. Best of luck. I thought ADP chasing was starting at 11, but they are starting at 10. So I guess this will be my last draft on here, because I generally don't like to go up against those guys. But yes, if you are in the Matic Discord, the Dynasty Leagues are coming. I'm going to start getting those organized this week. I'm excited to do that. And yeah, it's gonna be a good summer. It's gonna be a good summer. Not seeing anything too odd. Jaden McMillan at 139. He fell quite a bit in our draft earlier. But yeah, it's hard to know what Tampa Bay is going to do with their wide receivers. It's become a bit of a mess once they added Egbuka. It is a little scary for pretty much everybody. I think McMillan, though, is the clear loser. We all loved him, called him McMillions. He was a huge hit for us in best ball, but I don't know if the team necessarily saw him the same way, unfortunately. It definitely could be more of an indictment on Godwin and Evans, who are getting older. But I think, until then, McMillan might have a tough time seeing the field. Dak is still available. Definitely someone that I might take if he falls to me. I will probably add another running back to this team and push Dak, assuming that Shaft will not take a third quarterback. Although it probably makes more sense for me to take Penix, being that I have Darnell Mooney on this team. Either way, I'm just going to add Ray Davis. I like the fact that he has a job and he has contingent upside with if something happens to Cook, if he holds out, etc. I like Ray Davis there as an RB4. And if Penix comes to me, I will take him. I can't imagine Shaft taking two quarterbacks here. But I do think that a Penix, you know what? I'm going to take Dak. This is so late. I'll add like Tolbert or Turpin later. That could be bad, but it is hard for me to completely pass that up. All right, we got a couple picks left here. So I think with this team, going over what we've got Nix and Dak at QB, Gene T, Henderson, and Harvey, and Ray Davis at running back. Wide receiver room of Nico, Rashee Rice, Mike Evans, Luther Burden, Darnell Mooney, and Marvin Mims, and a tight end room of Njoku and Tucker Kraft. So I will be adding one more receiver, one more tight end, and then probably two running backs, or maybe a running back and a quarterback. We'll see what comes around. So there goes Stafford, Tillman, and Bryce Young. Bryce Young at 162. I like that quite a bit. That's, I think Carolina is going to be a little bit better this season. I don't think this guy stacked him with anybody. Oh, he got Chuba Hubbard. But yeah, that is late for some of these quarterbacks. And, in my mind, is there a huge functional difference between, Trevor Lawrence and this group, like week to week? I don't know. That's a pretty big gap from the 11th down to the 14th that we're seeing for some of these guys. They're like a JJ McCarthy who's going to be attached to a good offense. We will see. There goes Rico Dowdle and Thielen. The pace of the draft is picking up, which is good. Obviously, feel free to head on over to ADP Chasing. I realized I did not have the time right, so I apologize. I probably would not have started an additional draft, but I will see this through. Appreciate anyone hanging out here. looking at what is coming up to me. If Michael Penix falls to me, this could just end up being a 3 QB team. I feel good about my running back, so I could probably just stop at 5. I think that's the way I would construct it. But there goes Penix. And as far as the remaining quarterbacks, I don't know that I need to add a Dart, a Tyler Show, or a Rich. So this will end up just being a 2 QB team, which is fine. I don't mind that when I have Nix and Dak here. I probably should, however, finish out my Dak stack. I think Tolbert went, right? Yep, Tolbert went. Turpin. So I will add Kavontae Turpin to the queue here. I don't think there's any... I guess I could take Giddens or Roshan. Makes sense for me. I don't think Shaft seems unlikely to take Turpin. Yeah, Chad chasing. Yeah, not yet. We will get there eventually. But until then, I will make way for Ship chasing. I'm okay with either Giddens or Roshan, and if I really have to take Dylan Sampson, I will do it. I think I'll just add DJ Giddens to this team and be done at running back. And let's see, what do we have left? We have 2 picks remaining. And for this team, I guess it would be one more tight end and then one more of either a running back or receiver. Receiver room of Nico, Rashi, Mike Evans, Luther Burden, Darnell Mooney, Marvin Mims, and Kavontae Turpin. I think there's an argument for either adding a running back or a wide receiver here. And I'm really not sure, frankly not sure which I need more. I guess wide receiver. I'm a little bit torn. Maybe it's running back. Maybe I'm overvaluing RJ Harvey a little bit in this situation. But I think there's certainly an argument for either one. I guess we'll look at what's available when it comes back to us. So there goes J.K. Dobbins all the way at 188. How the mighty have fallen. It's tough. I was taking him, in the big board around 120, and he still remains unsigned. I don't know where, I really at this point do not know where he's going to land. I thought he'd be back with the Chargers, but, it doesn't seem like they would have any use for him at this point, having added Omari and Hampton and Najee Harris, and I think they signed at least one UDFA on that team, and they still theoretically have Vidal. So I don't know I don't know where he's going to go. Obviously, a team like the Bears or the Cowboys seem like teams that we thought were going to draft somebody but didn't. So that would make sense. But again, how much is he really going to contribute? I don't know. But let's see what kind of tight ends we can attach to this crew. Don't think there's going to be any stacks to be had, but that's okay. Again, I would probably just take Chig again. I don't mind taking a potential punt on Arroyo or Jatavion Sanders. If those guys go, then it is a little bit more of a choose your own adventure. But let's see what Leonard 87 does. Takes Taysom Hill. I wish Taysom Hill were healthy because he is such a fun player and is such a fun late round click. He feels like a cheat code, but unfortunately that torn ACL has probably deprived us of that probably forever, in all honesty. So this team is going to end with Nix and Dak, a running back room of Gene T, Henderson, Harvey, Ray Davis, DJ Giddens, wide receiver room of Nico Collins, Rashi Rice, Mike Evans, Luther Burden. I will add Chig here. We also have Darnell Mooney, Mims, and Turpin, and then Njoku, Kraft, and Chig. And our final player, and then I will sign off and head over to watch ADP Chasing, which again, I highly recommend for all of you. Those guys are great. I'm going to add one more running back. I think I would add Jarquez Hunter and hope that it is him and not Blake Corum. And let's see when Shaft takes. Shaft winds the clock to 00 and takes Cole Kmet. All right, everybody, thank you so much for stopping by. If you could please like and subscribe. I will be back tomorrow, hopefully closer to 8 a.m. than today. But again, thank you all so much for hanging out, and I'll see you all soon. Take care, everyone.